I didn't even, like the first time ever I didn't want to catch one on a Ned Rig, and it's what they want. Feed them what they want. First cast with a Ned Rig. A bunch of fish on live scope. Chucked a swim bait through there, thinking I'm gonna catch them how I want to catch them, and it goes, nope, you want to catch them on a Ned Rig, and it is a walleye. It's a good one too. Of course it eats a freaking Ned Rig. He's not even that long, he's just thick. Yeah, you want to scoop him? First cast, dude. You can't even make that up. I honestly thought this fish was gonna be like 4 inches longer, just the way he was kicking my butt. No joke. Swim baits, hair jigs, no bites, first cast Ned Rig. Guess I know what I'm gonna throw for a little while now. Oh, 3 seconds.
Of it sitting on the bottom,
Either
yeah.
it's just sitting there not moving, or the second you move it 6 inches, they eat it.
Yeah.
Like that. Well, we're in 22 feet of water, and there was about 6 or 8 of them down there. Surprise, surprise, I'm using a Ned Rig.
Ooh, that's a big one.
That's a good one. It's just interesting. I always talk about how, yeah, you want to scoop it? Thank you. I always talk about how universal it is, but nobody really talks much about fishing them deep. You think of it as a shallow water deal, and it's a everywhere in the water column deal. And today, half these fish are down on bottom, half of them are suspended in the water column. It's like 20 feet deep, and they're 10 feet down, 15 feet down, suspended. And what we were just talking about right before that is how it is crazy how many of those fish will follow that bait down to bottom to eat it, where you'll see them suspended in the water column and you can kind of dance it, hover it in front of their face, and once in a while you'll get one of those to eat. But it seems like you're way better off letting that bait slowly fall down all the way past them to bottom, and they'll chase it down, and within a couple seconds of it sitting on bottom, thump. You don't even have to move it. If they don't eat it when you're not moving it, it seems like the second you pull that bait like 6 inches, thump. And it's just so interesting how those suspended fish, you'd be thinking like, you know, jerk baits, hair jigs, crank baits, what can I fish in the middle of the column? And really, they're biting on bottom, but they chase it down from way up high. It's super interesting. There he is. It's a little one. Little bugger. Little scrat. All shapes and sizes eat it. So yeah, we came out here today, didn't really have a game plan, just had a arsenal of baits tied up that if I'm going anywhere in the spring, I've got these, you know, 5 baits tied on or whatever, and started cycling through baits, graphing fish, and what do you know, they wanted a Ned Rig, so I shall giveth them the Ned Rig. And I always talk about how versatile it is, and primarily I'm talking about shallow water, right? But it works really good in deep water too. That's part of its versatility. If you're graphing fish in 20 feet, you can let it sink all the way down to 20. If they're in the middle of the column, you can fish in the middle of the column. You can throw it in 2 feet. And that's just one of the reasons why I always have one tied on. You can fish at any depth. You can look like any forage, crayfish, perch, shiners, whatever. And it just doesn't get any easier. And for whatever dumb reason, they eat it, even when you don't want them to, which I guess I never don't want them to. But I just didn't plan on chucking it a lot, and popped that first one right away up shallow, and now we all of a sudden notice fish out deeper here, and some of them are in the middle of the water column, some are down on bottom, and it doesn't really matter which it is, we're gonna net them. That was another big suspended one, and I tried fluttering it in front of its face and it wouldn't eat. And I let it drop down to bottom past it, and you could see it just getting vertical, tail up, nose down, straight to bottom. Chomp, chomp. I'll handline this one. Oh, that was so cool. It's so weird. But sometimes they just want to chase it all the way down. There's kind of two different setups that I throw Neds on. And ultimately it comes down to how you like setting the hook. You don't have to go buy a new setup just for fishing a Ned rig. I mean, you can throw it on anything, but if you want to step up your game, a couple of the different things I do is this is a 7-1 medium extra fast, stiffer, faster action rod. And I really like that for when you want to crack it when you set the hook on them. Whether it's fishing shallower, or if you just, that's how you set the hook, you're a bass fisherman at heart and you lean into them. The other rod I like throwing Neds on would be a 7-3 medium light fast action. And that's a lot softer, mushier tip, and for that I really like doing the reeling hook set. And that can be nice if you're doing suspended fish, scoping them. You don't really want a super stiff rod because sometimes they'll feel you before you feel them. Having that little mushy tip that you can kind of let them eat it for a second is nice. But with that mushier rod, I just kind of reel up and load into them instead of swinging. And especially if I'm using a thinner wire hook, thinner gauge, whatever you want to call it, like a needle thin hook that just kind of pokes through. If you're using a little bit stouter hook, it's nice having a rod that has a little more backbone, a little faster for snapping into them. And no matter what rod, no matter how deep, no matter what kind of structure, I'm using 8-pound or 10-pound Sufix Advance braid on a main line. And I'll do about an 8-foot fluorocarbon leader, typically 8-pound test. I will sometimes do 10 if it's up in rocks and really there's some abrasion resistant necessary stuff going on up there, but usually an 8-pound leader. And I like doing about an 8-footer because that's about as far as you can have of a leader before your uni knot gets up in your spool. If you get that knot reeled up in your spool, it's going to affect casting and snag. So an 8-footer, you know, you got 7-some feet of rod, a foot or so when you cast, then it stays out of that spool. And it's just such a versatile, awesome, easy way to catch fish. I'm using a 3/16 ounce VMC Ned Jig today. That's my favorite all-around size. 3/16 is just, if I'm starting anywhere, I'm starting with that, whether it's shallow or deep. I'll sometimes throw a quarter if I'm fishing out deep, 20 plus, or it's windy. But 3/16 just has a nice fall. It gets down quick enough to those suspended fish, but still slow. And you get a little more feel. If I'm fishing up in less than 7 feet of water, that 4, 5, 6, 7 foot stuff, that's when I'll go up to like an 1/8 of an ounce, a little bit lighter. Typically 3/16 is gonna get it done. You can use any type of bait that you want to on the business end of that VMC Ned Rig Jig. A 4-inch Z-Man Big TRD is kind of my go-to everywhere, just because it's a nice walleye size. That 4-inch profile can look like perch, shiners, crayfish, whatever. They just eat it everywhere. But tons of different things work on the back, obviously. I've done other videos breaking down specific plastics and when I throw them and stuff, so I won't bore you anymore, but it's just funny. You come out to the lake with thinking we're gonna catch them one way, or, you know, wanting to do something, and it's like, don't force feed it. You know, if it's not a jig and wrap bite day, don't make it a jig and wrap bite day. If it's a jig and a shiner day, give them the shiner. Today they want Ned Rigs. Throwing a little bit of everything, and Ned Rigs are what are getting bit. So I'm gonna keep it in my hand, maybe catch a couple more walleyes, a couple more smallies, and do that off camera. Now's the fun part.